Hey, Ma! Ma! Why do we have this glove in the furnace? Ma, why do we have a furnace? We live in Florida. This might take a moment. Hit the button. Let's get started. Hey there, hi there, ho there, Andrew here, the horror host of Generations X, Y, and Z inside Davis Manor, once again continuing the month of nightmares with A Nightmare on Elm Street 2, Freddy's Revenge. Why is it called Freddy's Revenge? That is a completely pointless subtitle. Nobody in the first movie makes it to the second movie, except for Robert Englund, who plays Freddy, and you can't have revenge against yourself. That makes no sense whatsoever, so let me pause for self-promotion. You can go ahead, click the link above, and that is my very first review. It's actually a review recap react of A Nightmare on Elm Street 2, Freddy's Revenge, and I completely lay out total proof that this film is the gayest mainstream horror movie ever created. And when I say gayest, I mean like LGBTQ all the way up to X, Y, and Z. It covers everything. And I'm not going to be reviewing that much of that side of this film in this particular one because I really hit it over the head in the other video. So I will be giving more of a straight review on this one. Straight review. I make myself giggle. Anyways, click the link. I think you will find out that it is a superb video. It's actually one of my favorites that I've ever created. So, let me go on here and let's have a shout out to Cameron Lutz. Cameron was nice enough to give me this movie and actually all of the Nightmare on Elm Street movies to review. If you want to have a shout out with your name on a movie, all you got to do is give me a DVD. Don't give me Blu-rays or anything like that. Don't pay that much. And just send it to my P.O. box. That information is on the channel about section. And then you'll get a shout out, just like Cameron. And Cameron is also a patron of the channel. And that means I'm going to thank all the patrons of the channel as well. It is with their help that this channel continues to grow and get stronger. And if you want to have access behind the scenes, earn rewards like free merchandise, join in video chats, maybe you just want to pledge financially to help out and support the channel because you enjoy seeing what you are seeing. And you want to see the channel grow and continue. All I'm doing is asking you to consider becoming a patron of the channel, and all you have to do is hit the link above or the link at the end of the video or the link in the description. I give you plenty of chances to go ahead and check it all out. You can go ahead and see what the different tiers are and the different goals that we have for the channel. It's suddenly getting darker all of a sudden in here. It's weird. I guess a cloud is moving overhead. Ooh, that could be a sign, an omen. Anyways, let's go ahead and get into the first sequel of A Nightmare on Elm Street series that broke a lot of molds, if you ask me. So many that some people probably don't consider it canon, but too bad it is! A Nightmare on Elm Street 2, Freddy's Revenge is directed by Jack Shoulder, produced by Robert Shea, written by David Chaskin, and Wes Craven had absolutely nothing to do with this sequel. But cinematographer Jacques Haitkin does come back with the assist of Christopher Tufty. And even though this sequel came out the following year in real life of A Nightmare on Elm Street, the story takes place 5 years later. So the first film came out in 1984, but actually took place in 1981 when the screenplay was written. The sequel is coming out in 1985, but takes place 5 years after in 1981, making it 1986. And if you got lost at any time in what I just said there, I will call you a doctor and help you out with the timeline. And like I said, 5 years after the events of the first film, the Walsh family has moved into the Thompsons' former home. And who are the Walshes? Well, actually some pretty good actors, if you ask me. Jesse Walsh is the lead and the only survivor guy, I guess you could say, in the Nightmare history, and is played by Mark Patton. His little sister Angela is played by Days of Our Lives alum Christy Clark, and Mom, Mrs. Walsh, is played by Hope Lang, and Dad, Mr. Walsh, is played by Western and horror legend Clu Gulager. And with that, let me pause for self-promotion. That way, you can get another clue in my review. Oh, that rhymed. Of Return of the Living Dead, a film that came out the same year just 3 months prior of A Nightmare on Elm Street, Part 2. Actually, come to think of it, Robert Russler, who plays Jesse's friend Ron Grady, also was in a movie 3 months prior to this movie coming out in a film called Weird Science. Man, people were busy in 1985. And there were some good movies out that year, too. So, like I was saying, the Walshes has moved into the Thompsons' old home, and Jesse has been getting these nightmares. One of them happened to be facing Freddy Krueger himself on a school bus. Mind you, this is the only time that you are going to see a dream sequence in which Freddy is trying to kill somebody, anybody, for the rest of the movie. It's pretty weird, actually, because he is someone that visits you in your dreams and tries to kill you, but we visit a whole new plot development in this movie, and we'll address it in a moment. All in the first act, though, we find out some other characters. Jesse has a best friend by the name of Grady, who is punished by Coach Schneider. They get the bond there. We also find a quasi-love interest by the name of Lisa, who is, her last name is Weber, I believe, played by Kim Myers. No relation to that guy in Haddonfield whatsoever. And let me take a moment about these supporting characters. You would think that some of the supporting characters would really help push the narrative of the film, like most supporting characters do, but that is not true. Well, it's kind of true, but only for one character, which is Lisa. And when she is on the screen, we get something as an audience. It could be conflict, it could be exposition, it could be a climax. I find it fascinating, I mean, really do, that so many people feel that Jesse is the survivor girl guy of this movie. I don't think that he is. I really think that he's kind of the vessel of just how this story is moving along. He doesn't do anything to actively go against the antagonist. The survivor girl, survivor guy is supposed to be the protagonist of it, and he's just not that pro, I think. Really, Lisa, the quasi-girlfriend, she actively advances the story. Well, I'll give you an example here, okay? Let's go to Jesse's strange dance number. Oh boy. After Jesse does his own version of Tom Cruise's dance in Risky Business, Lisa shows up to help him clean the room and finds Nancy Thompson's diary. Why? What is going on with Nancy that she would leave her diary and Krueger's glove? That doesn't make any sense. I mean, would Lieutenant Thompson leave a murder weapon like this? One that would implicate him, mind you. Oh, jeez. That would implicate him in a crime that he was a part of. Let's just go ahead and leave it in the furnace. That doesn't make any sense, other than sloppy writing, mind you. And the fact that we need to get Freddy, in the dream, to explain that he wants Jesse to kill for him, and we finally realize that this movie has nothing to do with dream killing whatsoever. It is a possession movie. This, of course, turned off Wes Craven, as he refused to work on this film because, one, he never wanted this to become an ongoing franchise. 2, he was still cheesed off about producer Robert Shea taking away the happy ending from the first film. And 3rd, he didn't like the idea of Freddy manipulating the protagonist to become a murderer. And Jesse is just that. Whether he is possessed or not, he is the one committing the murders. And let me ask you this question right here. Where do you think Jesse lands in the survivor girl guy list of this franchise? I mean, who is he better than? Who is he worse than? Yeah, and how does he compare to maybe some of the other top-tier horror survivor girl guy people? Leave a comment down below. I think director Jack Shoulder and the cinematographers did a decent job in trying to omit Jesse from the death scenes of the characters like Schneider or Grady or even the infamous pool party. We just see Jesse in the aftermath. But I feel that we would have gotten more as an audience if we saw Jesse dragging Schneider with the jump ropes or Jesse impaling Grady with the glove. We would, as an audience, have seen the severity of the situation, especially after seeing Mark Patton's breakdown as Jesse after each event. Side note, Michael J. Fox was considered for the role of Jesse Walsh, but was unable to do that due to his obligations of 2 other movies that came out in 1985. That would be Back to the Future and Teen Wolf. Again, so many good movies came out in '85. And come to think of it, though, if Jesse showed up in all of those scenes that I was just talking about, Freddy's screen time would have been cut dramatically. I mean, he only had 13 minutes of screen time in this film, which was a lot more because I think he had half that in the previous film. However, I think the audience would have gotten the story a lot better Here, let me explain. The pool party sequence will probably go down in history as the most insane scene in Nightmare's history, mostly because many people feel that it broke the rules that were created by Craven in the first film. Krueger can only kill you in your dreams. So what's he doing running around killing awake kids at a pool party, right? The scene was so odd that director Jack Shoulder couldn't even direct a pool scene without cracking up, so he gave it to the assistant director instead. I do feel that, once again, this is a moment where Jesse is possessed and he is running around with the glove on, killing people, and it makes sense that one of the kids goes and tries to reason with him, because chances are, if he was actually looking at Krueger all burned up and everything, I doubt that he would be trying to reason with him. Though, if they didn't show the cool transformations where Jesse was being possessed, it would have probably looked like this. Hold on, Grady, I'm going to kill you in a moment. And so comes the finality of it all. Finality? Is that a word? I don't know. The movie is pretty solid, I'd say, up to the climax, which in a word is anticlimactic. That's 2 words. No, technically that's hyphenated. So that makes it 1 word, right? Where was I? Right after Lisa fights a possessed Jesse a few times, they end up in a factory where Krueger used to take his victims. And it doesn't come down to Jesse fighting Freddy for control of his body. Jesse can't do it because Freddy is too strong. It takes Lisa confessing her undying love for Jesse with a kiss. And that is what makes Freddy lose his grip on Jesse, and he ignites and melts in the fire, and Jesse emerges from the ashes like a flaming phoenix. Hey, wait a minute. I can't believe I missed that in the first review. And the movie ends ambiguously just like producer Robert Shea would want it to, because, hey, we need to get another sequel. And this movie is either loved or hated from all the Fred heads out there that love this franchise. I don't think it should get all the hate that it does for not following canon, though. Why? Because this is the first sequel. There wasn't a canon at the time, so I personally give it a pass. I think the acting is strong. I enjoyed Englund as Freddy once again. He has some more snappy lines, but doesn't go full cartoon, and still has a sense of evil to him. Mark Patton does a great job of playing a teenager that is possessed and cannot control himself at all, and I actually felt for the character as he's confessing to Lisa and he is having a complete meltdown, though some of the lines actually are pretty crazy. The supporting cast does well with what they got, and Kim Myers is really the anchor to this film as Lisa Weber. The problem with this movie is really the script, and I don't mean the gay undertones, or maybe I should say overtones, but the fact that it just doesn't flow right as a film. Meaning, I don't feel that the director and the writer were on the same page, so to speak. I mean, it's pretty obvious that they weren't, because the director, Jack Shoulder, said that he had no idea that the writer, David Chaskin, had any kind of homosexual undertones in the film. I mean, dude, you are the one that is telling this story in a visual medium. You should have known that. Just because the director decided to omit Jesse in some crucial moments, in my opinion, it makes it feel like maybe there's supernatural things going on. And if they are, how did Freddy get those powers? See, it actually leaves more open-ended questions for the audience in there. And they weren't explained in the first film or in the second film of why something like that would happen. You only know that Freddy can manipulate the dream world. And I feel that if the script was written and visually portrayed that Jesse was the one acting out all of these murders physically and Freddy was pulling the strings, it would have made Freddy a lot more threatening and menacing and given a lot more severity to Jesse's plight. Regardless, this film grossed almost twice as much as the original and made New Line Cinema realize that Freddy and the Nightmare franchise was going to put them on Easy Street.
We're on Easy
Stop
Street.
that right now. All in all, this is not my favorite Nightmare in the Nightmare on Elm Street series, but it's definitely not the worst on my list either. If you are a fan of the Nightmare franchise, you can't just omit this one. It has to be put into your library. It is canon. It is needed. And if you like a little homo in your horror, or if you are a fan of Freddy, if you like a little homo in your horror, did I just say that? Anyways, pick this up, put it in your library if it isn't already, okay? It is so bad, it is good. If you have seen this movie a long time ago and haven't seen it recently, I advise you, go ahead back, watch it, and you will laugh, you will enjoy yourself, especially if you've seen my first review of this. So do you agree with me or disagree with me? Go ahead, leave a comment down below, and remember, like, share, subscribe, plus hit that bell icon so you get notified the moment I upload, and I will see you in the next video.